Some of you may say, I've heard of graphic design, I've kind of got an idea of what intellectual property is, but he's going to go into it in a lot more detail. So please give Mr. Austin a warm CPET welcome. And your undivided attention. Thank you so much, Mr.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Everybody doing good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so mainly we're going to make this presentation about intellectual property and also graphic design. I really appreciate y'all coming out. We're going to go through a couple topics and different discussions. And if you have questions in between, I will ask that you politely raise your hand and then we'll get to your question, or you can share your knowledge on the topic. So there's a couple of things we're going to cover today, and we're going to start here. Basically what intellectual property is, okay? It's a work or an invention that is a result of creativity, such as a manuscript or design, to which one has the rights for and one that can apply a patent, copyright, or trademark. So, if you can think about it, we understand like something like this campus is real property, which also can be taxed by the government. But something like this building costs a lot of money, a lot of funding. But I want you guys to get into intellectual properties. What that means is you can create something that's lucrative that will generate you income that you own, but you create it like out of thin air, okay? So we're gonna cover the 5 different types of intellectual property. So first type is copyrights. These are your songs. These are your different character creations such as anime, you know, your Attack on Titans, your Dragon Ball Z's, okay? These are the things that you come up with, you create, you draw, and you turn it into a tangible asset. Next up, you have moral rights. This covers when you own something, the morality of someone taking your asset or your intellectual property, you are covered under those rights. Trademarks. This is dealing with recognizable names, NASA, Tesla, Coca-Cola. These are different trademarks that go with different trends and are recognizable by those companies. Patents, inventions, and we're going to cover a lot of inventions today. You're going to learn some things that you may not have known. Every day in your everyday life, we take advantage of things and don't understand the intricate and the depth that goes into it. So, ironically, we're going to cover a guy that is known for furniture design. So we couldn't sit in seats, we couldn't access the internet, we couldn't make phone calls if it wasn't for a lot of these inventors. So we're gonna go over patents and trade secrets. This is your exactly way to do something. So if you come up with a knack, say for example, you know how to make a lot of money during the stock trade, or you're good at real estate, but you know your specific technique, okay? There's a way to protect that. So that goes into trade secrets, okay? So, let me ask a question. Is anybody in here, how many people in here are familiar with Pokemon? Gotta catch them all. Everybody should. That's slogan. Well, guys, take a minute and look up here. Pokemon is one of the highest grossing IPs that exists. Okay, so it's basically, the franchise in its entirety is worth $100 billion. And they have different marketing strategies and things that allow them to reach these particulars, okay? So we'll get into graphic design and how that applies here. So here, I basically broken down what a different IP could be. Guys, don't let anybody tell you that the hairstyle you create or the drawing that you do or that song that you create is not going to be lucrative. There are jingles that have existed since the 50s, the 40s, that is still making money to this day. Included jingles in movies that we watch that were created in the 20s that still exist today. So, if you look over here, what do you notice? Who's this guy? Pikachu. Everybody recognize Pikachu, right? So, main character IPs, okay? So, the character is created, okay? Then you have derivative work, so there's a cartoon. That's another stream of revenue, right? And then you have the collector cards, okay? That's another stream of revenue. And then also the plushes. So that's 4 derivatives, 1 character, and 4 different revenue streams. Yes, sir.
Sorry, when you say IPs, what is the IP?
IP means intellectual property. It's anything that you create that you create into a tangible asset. So, intellectual property is mind property. For example, in the beginning I said this building is real property. The only problem is it takes a lot of money to get into real property. So how many people in here want to be an actual real estate agent? By raised hands. Interested in renting and Airbnb? Is that what you're interested in? What got you interested in that? Is your family involved in that or what? Okay, that's very commendable. We're going to cover someone who does Airbnb in the presentation, and I want you to ask any questions. Anybody interested in architecture, real property, definitely ask, okay? So we're going to move on to the next part. So what I want you to absorb from what I'm saying is, from one character, we now have games. So we covered 5. This is 5. So we've got the character itself, the franchise, the cartoon, the cards, the plushes. Now we got games. And then there's derivatives of those games. Okay? So I want to talk about this in particular. Please, if you could, snap this picture right now. This movie is called Childhood's End. You'll thank me later after you watch this movie. The premise behind the movie is that aliens invade the Earth and create this utopia for us humans. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there are a lot of changes in your generation. We're coming from the boomer and Generation X era. The way that we used to do things has changed. I come from an era where if you wanted to get a job, you had to actually go to the site, talk to the manager or assistant manager, get the application, show up to the second, third interview, and then you got the job if you presented well. Things are changing, guys. For you guys, y'all have 2 things kind of working against you: automation and artificial intelligence, and we'll get into that. But this movie breaks down aliens invading the Earth and presenting to the humans, well, we're going to create a utopia for you. You don't have to work. We're going to give you everything you need, food. You don't have to work. But guess what? You're going to lose your humanity in the process. So that's something to think about. And we'll get into more detail as we go. So this is one of the characters there in the movie. And the reason why I can talk about movies is because those are intellectual properties. This guy comes in with the slide talk, the slick talk, saying to the humans, guys, you guys have been murdering each other, killing each other. Let us take over, show you how it's done. Okay? And this is, to be honest with you, when I saw this picture, this is what caught my attention. So when you see this, what comes to your mind when you see this?
The devil.
That's what I was thinking. Exactly. But if we know the scriptures, what do they say about the devil? Is the devil up front? Is he just roaring and yelling at you?
No.
He's very what? Sly, slick. He gets your trust first, right? So this caught my attention. And so what happened was, at the end of the series, well, I won't say, we'll just say that by the time it's done, this alien is holding the next generation's hands. So, watch it, check it out, it's good. Another movie. This is going to be relevant. How many people have seen this movie here? Can you break down this movie? You know, only one person has seen this movie? 2. Okay, could you break down a short synopsis of what this movie is about for your peers?
Okay, so like it's about how these people are like on a time limit, and like that's basically like their lifespan, and like they don't grow past like 25, I think. And so like when their time runs out, that's when they die. And like the rich people are like considered like people who have like the most time. And yeah.
So let me ask you a question. How did that make you feel, knowing that the rich could live forever, but the poor, they had to work and strive every single day for every dime that they had? How did that make you feel?
Like Blade Runner?
Similar to Blade Runner. How did that make you feel?
I don't know. I feel like it wasn't really like fair for them because they didn't have that much. And like if you grew up with like the people who were like rich, then you automatically
Did they have to work hard or?
No, they didn't have to.
So the direct correlation, guys, is, and this is what I'm here to present and why IPs are so essential to you, is because it allows you to gain an asset with little to no money, no money at all sometimes, just your creativity. And it can help you in propelling yourself forward in your career or your everyday survival. So thank you for that. And what's your name? Kyla, thank you for that. So basically, you had to have money to put time on your clock to live. So in the same liking, us every day, the old school way to do it was we work 24 hours, 365, or 8 hours a day, work hard. We don't have time to enjoy our families. We don't have time to spend time with our kids because we're working, we're tired, we get home, we eat, we go to sleep, we do it all over again to pay bills, right? That's the routine. But for you guys, you have a great opportunity. Now, I'll break it down. So, snap this one. This is turning Pokemon into a 6-figure income. And we're gonna watch a few snippets of this. For the second time, I'm trying to move kind of through it. But what they were able to do was they noticed a trend in that Pokemon trend I showed earlier, and that it was a lucrative business. So what they did, instead of selling the Pokemon American cards, they started selling the Pokemon Japanese cards. And this is their full-time job. So we're talking about land hacking. Somebody said they wanted to do real estate. This guy right here, and this is something I'm going to be alluding to, was able to take his small square footage in Oakland, California, put four Airbnb properties on his property, and he makes $6,000 a month renting out his tiny homes. Okay? Any questions thus far? So, creating a way to do something. You guys have the options of different ways to live. For example, you do not have to spend 30 years paying on a mortgage. Guys, you can pull your friends together, get one of these tiny homes, build it out, deck it out, and you'll be in no debt in 3 to 5 years. You never have to pay rent. You have to pay maybe taxes on your property. But like I said, there's options for you guys. And we'll watch some snippets of these videos. Now, questions about plastic. I just want to take a quick poll if y'all don't mind participating. Hands up if you feel like plastic is a problem in the environment. I just want to see. Hands up if you think plastic is not a problem in the world. It's okay if you have an opposing view. Okay, this is perfect. This is perfect. Now, okay, so let's get on to plastic. And this is all going to correlate into what I do as a person in a minute. But everybody who's wearing glasses, raise your hands real quick. Does your glasses have plastic? Everybody who has a cell phone in their pocket right now, does it have plastic? If you're drinking out of a water bottle, or let's say you have a container that holds your stuff, it's made of plastic, correct? Yes or no? Yep. So, we're going to get into the reality of what plastic was made for. And if you look into the history of plastic, there's a lot of minority inventors that were involved in making plastic. What plastic originally was for is to preserve food, and that you can use a small amount to get a lot of tensile strength, and it would stretch a lot. Before, say you had a piano or an instrument, it was made from actually animal parts. So a rhino or elephant had to be killed for its tusk. You take the tusk and you make the item. What plastic allows you to do is not harm the animals, but still make the what? Make the product, exactly. Very good. So up on the screen, these guys are called Brothers Make, and what they're doing is, we have two types of plastics, right? We have the non-renewable and renewables, okay? So what they do is, they take the one-time use plastics, they shred them, and they create products from them, okay? Isn't that interesting? And y'all can stop. If y'all have any questions, please raise your hand. I don't want to move too fast. Dave Hackins, okay? Now we want to talk into IPs and creating a system. This goes into trademark. how you do something. So the first guy, let me go back real quick, takes recycled plastic and creates products. So that's more for monetary gain, okay? And also environmental, okay? But he's created an entire system that goes across the globe. They make their own machinery, and they take all the waste that's killing the animals and causing harm to the planet, and they also make 3D filament, bowls, tiles, building materials, okay? So it's all about perspective. Okay, this is one video we're gonna watch so you can see the effect across the globe. And we're actually gonna transition and watch this video right now. But what they were able to do is create boats from plastic bottles. And let's take a pause moment and check that out real quick.
And boats out of the plastic waste around here. And as promised, in this video, we are going to show you the full process of how they made this recycled plastic canoe. Enjoy!
As first students of flip-flop, we made a traditional fishing dhow. We call it Dawla, which is made of 100% plastic. And in this video, we'll show you how we did it. Join there.
We took the molds to the extrusion, then we extruded it with a locally available plastic.
Okay, so what they're doing is shipping all that plastic that you see in the commercials where the duck or goose is getting choked out from the, you know what I'm talking about, like the little plastic that's hurting animals. They take that plastic, and I'll skip ahead a little bit for the sake of time.
Which was collected from
Show you
the
the results. So in this clip, this is the finished product where you melt that plastic up, you push it in, right, and you create the part. So I was actually able to kind of implement that into my own business. So as you can see, I have some buttons here that was made from recycled plastic, okay? So these are just things that would have been thrown away, things that would have been cause harm in the environment, but then you make a product from it, okay? So y'all are welcome to see this towards the end of the presentation. Any questions on this? Any questions? Okay, so like I said, you guys have options. There's tons of resources and materials and things that you can use for your own personal ideas and inventions. So let's go back to the presentation. So, boats made from plastic, okay? Now we're going to talk about something else that's plastic that we all love and enjoy. Does anybody know who this is? Who? The Lego guy. Who said that right there? Raise your hand real quick. Okay. Can you tell us something about, you know anything about the story?
Well, I know he initially started the company building blocks out of wood, but when plastic was eventually invented, he was the first person to monopolize the market of toys made out of plastic, which was a long-lasting material.
Absolutely correct. What's your name, sir?
Alexander.
Alexander, very good. You had a comment on the Lego? No? Okay. All right, excellent, excellent. So plastic was cheaper, less material, easy to access. So the story behind it, Ole Olesen was a carpenter, okay? His father died poor, but his son passed on his legacy and created the Lego company as we know it today. So they do processes in engineering like mold injection, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm showing you is eventually, after a dispensation of time, they have Lego Land in California. So if you ever had a dream to make a shoe company, your clothing line, whatever it may be, do not let anybody tell you you can't do that for yourself to make a living from, okay? So here's Legoland. These guys from Denmark who started off as a poor carpenter. Matter of fact, he died, he lost his wife. His house burned down, and he still had to keep going. Eventually. That's that perseverance. So this is one of the older ads, and I wanted to bring this up in the graphic design side of it. I always, in my trade, love to go back and look at how advertisements were done in the past. Here's an old Lego advertisement. Oh, let me go back one. And I recommend everybody in this room Go back and watch this video. It's available on YouTube. It's called The Lego Story. And it breaks down the Christensen family and how they built that empire. Any questions on the Legos? Okay. I'll be surprised if anybody knows who this is right here. Does anybody know who this is? If somebody in this room knows who this is, I will give you something free, a free gift or anything right now. Yes, sir. Okay, so this is Walter Lincoln Hawkins. Everybody hold up their cell phone right now. Everybody hold up your cell phone right now. Hold it up in the air. Everybody, everybody. Without this man, listen carefully, without this man creating the shielding made from plastic, guess what would happen? Look at this picture right here. You have the entire world and a network communication line. So if you take wires and metal in salt water, what would happen to that? What? Corrodes and rust, right? So what he did was he created what we know today as the Ethernet cable shield, the wire cable shielding. And that's made from plastic as well too. So guess what? We couldn't talk on our cell phones. We couldn't access the www without what? Walter Lincoln Hawkins. So the initial question was, is plastic good or bad? Well, depends on your perspective, right? Okay. So I'm showing you guys that have created systems, the Lego systems, actually the word Lego means to build together, to link. Creating a system is a form of an IP, okay? And so, this guy right here. Somebody got to know who this guy is right here. Okay, so this is, and we're going to close out on him, Shigeru Miyamoto, okay? And this is the graphic designer that has now created the empire we know as Nintendo and Mario. So, he started off, and you can read the synopsis here. He basically has this degree in, I believe, product engineering, graphic design, and he eventually created what we now know today as Nintendo. This is some of his earlier depictions of him working in designing those games. Over here you can see early graphic design software here. But like I said, we all have a starting point, and that's why I'm glad y'all are here, because y'all are in your infancy. Y'all are at the beginning stages of becoming great. I'm not really concerned so much as to the examples. I want to see who's the next Shigeru Miyamoto. Who's the next person to come out with their designs and be creative. And so eventually here, he was able to, in Universal Studios Japan, create Legoland. Okay, so what's the summation of this? Now, Jerry Lawson is another person who worked with Steve Jobs to create the cartridge-based system. So he was the first person to create another system, which you can patent, and I don't want you to miss this part. So he's the guy who created the cartridge-based system, and I have an example here. So without this, you wouldn't have a SIM card, you wouldn't have an Atari, Nintendo DS. He's the guy that created the interchangeable game system. That's Jerry Lawson. Okay, and this is the controversy. We're going to end here. Yes?
Sorry, question. Your path.
Yes.
You were in high school. What classes did you take?
Okay, so
What?
and this is an interesting thing. I'm glad you asked this question. So it was funny when I was talking to Ms. Thompson before I was privileged to come here and discuss with you guys what I do. I didn't want to make it about who I am and what I did, but to answer the question, I tickled her when we were talking, because when I was talking to her about what I did, she was tickled by it because she said, "Oh, I've heard this before," or something like that. In my mind, I was thinking, you have no idea, because let me tell you this, guys. You don't have to be defined by a box. If you want to be a musician on the rap side and also make the beats, you can do that. Kanye West did it. So what I'm saying is, there's no specific box that defines me as a person. There's no box. Matter of fact, Cat Williams got 55 million views on Club Shay Shay's channel. And what he said was, when he grew up, that when they would go to school and everybody would talk about who they wanted to be and what they wanted to do, there was nothing to define what he wanted to do. So the only thing I can tell you is, be great in your respective field. If you want to be an architect, a graphic designer, don't minimize yourself. Be great in what you do. So the short synopsis, if you want to hear all the rigmarole type stuff, is I've been an educator for over a decade, dedicated 10 years of my life to CMS schools, was able to meet Tiffany Haddish, Aaron James Draplin, Timmy Coker. These are people you can look up online. If you type in Aaron James Draplin, he's the greatest logo designer in the U.S. I was able to meet these goals because I was stuck and determined to do great in what I do, which is graphic design. But in the process, I was able to be a carpenter in that process. I was able to be an engineer in this process. I was able to create shoes, rulers, all sorts of stuff. But had I stuck into one small place that somebody wanted to put me in, I wouldn't have created anything. I would have been stuck there.
In order to be a graphic designer,
Yes.
do I have to be able to draw? Because I think, like, I know that the graphic design uses the technology, but, like, I can't draw well, but I appreciate art and I have an eye for certain things, but I never considered that to be a career option for me because I can't draw.
Okay,
So,
perfect question. The answer is no. You don't necessarily have to draw. You have to be able to put graphics together on a digital canvas. Pretty much.
You have a college class.
Right.
You have a college class only.
Your question for you guys, to simplify it, what he's asking, if you go to college, you're going to get a certain amount of skill set, okay? You're going to get digital art, you're going to get some photography stuff, you're going to get some art history, okay? When you add all that up, you still have to define your art and who you are. For example, Aaron James Draplin. Aaron James Draplin Designs. Like I said, I was able to go to California and meet Aaron James Draplin. I already have this tab pulled up. Like I said, you can look him up. We all share that commonality as graphic designers. I've published 2 books. I'm on my 3rd. But that's not, I didn't want to really make it about that. I want you to know that you got to be creative out here. That you can't allow people to put limitations on what you do. So if you're in college and you spend 8 hours a day in your books, give yourself 2 hours. In other words, work on that song you wanted to do. If you're going to be a cosmetologist, you make sure your makeup and your hair is on point and unique and nobody's ever seen anything that you've done. You got to make yourself unique to come out above the rest, okay? So Aaron James Draplin is known at, his thing is logo design. In graphic design, you can be a great photographer. You can make illustrations. You can do posters. You can do like Shigeru Miyamoto and make video games. It's endless. So that's why I brought these here today. And I want to close out with my channel. I really didn't want to plug myself. But just to give you an idea, I have 8 documentaries on YouTube currently. One of them is dealing with this guy, Charles Chuck Harrison. I encourage you to watch it. You can even do a study on him. So his story,
September 23rd, 1931.
His story was, he actually had the engineering background, but in that time in America, there was some laws that discriminated against black and brown people. So he had to literally contract everything that he did, including with Sears. But long story short, he designed furniture. He was the first guy to invent the trash can that's a stackable plastic trash can. So without him, we wouldn't have trash cans that actually stack or bins that stack. Okay, this is the system. He also created the Viewmaster. Okay, so he's created sewing machines, the Viewmaster, and I'm bringing these people up to say you're not limited to one thing as a graphic designer. But I'll close on that, and I would definitely love to talk with you guys more. And I want everybody that has subscribed to my channel, if you have a question about a career you want to do,
Hold on.
you can put the question in the comment section and just ask. I will spend all the time. If there's 100 people, 150 people in here, I will answer 150 questions. Just put your question in the comment section on something you want to do in your life, career-wise, and I will answer that question. And I can even answer it in a separate live. Okay? Guys, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your time. But remember this, if I don't tell you anything else, don't limit yourself to a box, okay? Grow, expand, and be the person that you are.
That's good.